Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much everybody for letting me come along this afternoon. So what I'm going to talk about, as we've kind of discussed, very much links into what Becca's already said and what Lewis has said as well. So my focus is the local nature recovery strategy, which is kind of what it says on the tin. It's a nature recovery strategy that's very local. So I'm going to give a bit of a whistle-stop tour in terms of what it means, and then how it can link into schools, and then what you can do as well. We are in our public consultation phase at the moment, which actually closes tonight, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to just today. So the LNRS itself is very much linked into the Environment Act, which was introduced in 2021, and every region in England has to produce one. So there are going to be 48 of these strategies by the end of this year, early next year. It's a tool, essentially. It's a spatial tool, so looking at locations and thinking on two sides, thinking about species abundance and reducing those species extinctions that Becca mentioned earlier, and then really thinking about where places can help. So where can we look at habitat improvement? Where can we benefit those species that are really unique to our area and need the most help? It's also about the wider environment and people too. So we're not just focusing on habitats and species, we're thinking about how can nature do lots and lots for lots of things. Again, kind of already been mentioned a little bit today, but I'll touch on it a little bit more too. So when I talk about the LNRS, and I talk to lots and lots of different stakeholders about it, I try and use three words just to kind of really hone in the message, and they are opportunity, ambition and potential. So it is an opportunity. It's about letting people know what could be done. It's not a dictation. We're not saying this is a mandate, everybody has to go out and do X, Y, Z. This is what could happen if you're interested, if the landowner wants to engage in nature recovery, if it fits in with all the different practices. So it is, as I say, that opportunity. It's sort of saying this is what the data has put together and given us as the best option. It is ambitious as well. So we know, and again, this is very much linked into the data, the decline of species, the impact that we're having at the moment from climate change. It needs to be ambitious, it needs to make a change. It's also got to align with documentation and policies that are existing from all the way across the region. And that also includes our climate action plans. So there's definitely a link there in terms of how they can be influencing each other and work together. And it's also about potential, because not a lot of this is going to happen without funding, and we don't have an unlimited pot, so we have to think about how can we link those funding streams, both public and private, to actually help to produce this and to do this work. So again, that's another reason why linking through to the nature educational park is really important. So just to give a little bit of an idea of the output, so what is the strategy actually doing, and we'll show, I've got this slide just to go through that. So we have three different areas, and as I said, a lot of it is about mapping. And what we've had to look at over the past sort of 18 months is to think about what have we already got in our area. So this is across Suffolk and Norfolk. We've had to think about what's already important for biodiversity, so which species and habitats are really key. And that kind of gives us our baseline. It sort of shows us what we should work on first. But then we've had to think about which ones need our most help. So where do we focus? What are the most important? And then we're going to show where that could happen. So we've kind of got our underlying protected habitats and sites, and then thinking about how can we make it better. And that links into a thing called the Lawton Principles, which is all about making things bigger, better, more connected, and more of them. So it's a key sort of focus and strategy, again, to really think about making nature better. Is you need those four things. There needs to be more of it, it needs to be improved, it needs to be more connected to each other. We also are looking at both urban and rural areas, so we're not just limiting this to those rural habitats. We're really thinking about what can happen within school grounds as well as other urban areas. And also, some of it can't necessarily be mapped. It can be very specific to a key location, but also there can be things that can happen anywhere and that anybody can do. And that's what we kind of refer to as our unmapped measures. So they would be things like some of the gardening practices, some of the reduction in pesticide use, for example, in our agricultural areas. other two benefits are linked into what's called environmental benefits and then the co-benefits. So those environmental ones are really things about flood risk mitigation, water quality improvement, climate change resilience. So showing how nature recovery can benefit a wide range of the sort of the functions and the natural capital. And then our co-benefits are those which are not directly linked to kind of locations on the ground, but are more about the physical and mental well-being, the economic, the social and the cultural links too. And we try and talk about this through the strategy, and we use lots of different examples, and this is just a quick snapshot of the things that we do talk about. So again, hopefully you can see we've got our pollinators in there, soil health, so again we're linking into food production, cooling the urban areas, so if we start thinking about tree cover and things like that as well. So I've mentioned the word measures already, and this is one of the bits of terminology in the strategy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of detail in the strategy because it is a government document. But the measures themselves are the actions, so the things that you can do on the ground. And it's all about those things that someone could do or something could change within a habitat to really deliver those priorities. And key examples are on the screen at the moment. Again, just a snapshot, there's so many in the document and what we kind of suggest. But we've got things like the tree planting, hedgerows, green roofs, roadside verges, which are incredible in Suffolk as well. There's a really massive network of them. Wetland creation, which then can again link into the flood risk mitigation. And then those invasive species. So it's not all about bringing in things, it's about taking away the stuff that shouldn't be here as well and is causing problems. So over quite a long period of time and a lot of data we've had to collect and work with a lot of different stakeholders across the counties because this is happening across Norfolk and Suffolk together as the combined partnership. What we've come up with are key species and key habitats and locations essentially. So there are priority areas. So we have 23 species, which are those which really need kind of quite tailored and bespoke measures. So they're quite specific. But then we have a lot of other species that can be helped by very similar measures and similar actions. And those we've put together in what are called assemblages, and they link into some of the key habitat types. We then also have habitats that represent the whole landscape across our county. So everything from kind of the Brecks grassland, the fens, the broads, the farmland, and then again into the sort of more urban areas and even out to the coastline. So everything is represented within the strategy. And those areas that we think are really, really key for supporting biodiversity are what's called ACBs, so those areas that could become of importance. So just to show you on the screen those key species, some of them might be a little bit obscure, you might not have heard of some of them, but there are some very key ones in there, and so like the water vole, the natterjack toad, and some of the birds as well, and the dormouse, which is very specific to Suffolk. It doesn't go over the border into Norfolk, it doesn't like it. We're not quite sure why, but it doesn't appear in Norfolk yet. So that's one that's different and very special to Suffolk. But also what we tend to try and do within the document is we talk about these measures. So we're really saying what people could do as a suggestion again as well. So where does this link into those priorities that we've generated? And I've just given a couple of snapshots from the strategy again, and you can see here that we've put into our strategy to say that we want to develop those high quality habitats in the school grounds and link to those climate action plans. So hopefully continue to work with all these processes together. And you can see on the right hand of the screen here as well, all of those co-benefits which we're talking about. So all of the work that can happen can have a positive impact on these other areas as well. We know that it is really important to think about those species that are really engaging and that all stakeholders want to be involved with. And we have included those in our strategy because we did a public survey last year as well. So we're not only taking the advice and the information from the really key conservation experts, we are listening to the general public and landowners as well. So again, hopefully you can just see highlighted on the screen, we've got our pollinators mentioned, some very key species and some the more general pollinators, and then our hedgehogs as well. So our hedgehogs are our sort of flagship species for our urban environments, really thinking about those garden environments and all the different things that can happen for hedgehogs. So another snapshot just to show you how the document's sort of put together. I won't dive into this too much, but it's just to show that we have really developed this to work with everybody. So it's not only you as teachers and as educators, but as a member of the public as well, a member of the community, and people who are land managers, businesses. It's supposed to talk to the whole county and be able to be used by the whole county. Okay, this is Norfolk. I won't dwell on this, but just to show you that we do have equivalents for Norfolk as well. So you can see there's some species there and how the map looks. But let's dive in a little bit more to Suffolk. And again, the maps that are currently available for our public consultation will stay available for you to use and to look at. It will be slightly different in terms of you can't comment on them, but they will still be live on the website. So we'll make sure that the links come out to you as well for later on in the process. But this is what we have at the moment to show where we think nature should be recovered in Suffolk as a priority. So absolutely, it can happen everywhere, but we need to prioritise it. We need to be realistic and sort of say, actually, if we're going to do something, this is where it should happen. So hopefully a lot of schools are included in this. And if not directly on the school grounds, but nearby, and so residents can also become involved. And it's approximately 30% of the county, which is quite ambitious when you think about it, sort of making a change in those areas. The QR code that you can see on the screen is the link to the mapping, and if we get a chance in a second, I'll try and show it to you live as well. But again, we'll put the links into the chat. But just to show you a little bit more of what we can do with the mapping, this is all of the ponds in Suffolk. So we do have data on all of the ponds that have existed and currently exist. So there are obviously a lot of ponds. It's really key in terms of our habitat type and our soil type, and why we have ponds, essentially because of a lot of the clay. But we also have records of where the ponds used to be. So a lot of ponds have been removed due to development or to changing agricultural practices. But those ponds are amazing, and they can be called ghost ponds or lost ponds because they can harbour and hold on to a huge amount of biodiversity. Within the soil, the seeds will actually stay in sort of almost like in a suspended animation. And once the pond is restored, it can increase its biodiversity and get loads and loads of species in there within about 4 years. We've also found that that has brought back species that were thought to be extinct. So just by restoring one pond, we can have a massive impact, and it will then also link via that sort of stepping stone action to other ponds in the area and help to boost them. So again, just to show you Norfolk's on here too. It's about 31% at the moment. These might change following the consultation and if we take some more advice, but you can see that we're fairly comparable across the two counties. So what can you do? As we said, it would be great if we could have any input into the public consultation. It is open till midnight tonight, so depending on how late you want to stay up tonight, there are consultations for both counties, and the consultation asks you to kind of have a little look at the map, to have a look at the document, and to just give your opinion on it, essentially. There is a shorter version and a longer version, so completely appreciate people's time, even if you just get a chance to give a general input, just to say that you've had a look at it and you agree or you think it's horrific, then we'd like to take that feedback, essentially. Okay, so I'll make sure these links come into the chat in a second too. And again, if there's any questions, we've got 2 teams working across the counties on this. So my role sits within Suffolk County Council, but I also work with the Norfolk team. So either of those emails can get to us. Okay.